Azim Rafiq says Yorkshire mean nothing to him now following the news that former chair Colin Graves could be set for a return to the club. Yorkshire were fined for failing to address the systemic use of discriminatory or racist language during a time in which Graves was previously chairman.
It's incredibly triggering. I did an interview yesterday where the interviewer told me to let it go. To be honest, it's not like my sweets have been taken off me or, something small's happened. It put me to the brink of taking my own life. But also, since I've spoken out, it's forced me to leave the country, a place that I've called home for 21 years. I had to leave. And actually, the implications of that on certain members of my family and their health is something that I am still challenged with and have to deal with on a daily basis. So, and it feels like, what was the point? To read it with my own eyes and to see that we're back to square one or possibly even worse, what was the point? How do I look at my kids in the eyes and tell them that I've taken them away from the rest of their cousins and stuff because I stood up for a cause, and they'll say, well, what happened? Well, 2 years down the line, the guy who oversaw it is back. If people are going to continue to show you with their action that they're just mugging you off, then at some point you've got to take the hint. And the last 10 days, I've taken the hint. I held my county club cap with a lot of pride, and that cap means nothing to me anymore. And the club means absolutely nothing to me anymore. It's I think the hint. This is not even a hint. I think this is cricket telling us straight, loud and clear. As I said, Colin's one part of it, but Colin's not the only part of it. The whole game is telling us loud and clear how it thinks about our involvement.
Right, let's pick up on some of the things that Azim Rafiq said there. We're going to speak live now to the Yorkshire Chief Executive Stephen Vaughan. Good afternoon to you, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. Azim, very much in disbelief there that Colin Graves could return. He talks about triggering. He's visibly upset. Firstly, what's your response to that?
Yeah, hi Vicky. Look, it's always sad when you hear anybody talk with any of the language that Azim just talked then. It was quite brutal. I'm sorry to hear that he feels that way. I've never met Azim, and his unfortunate set of events were prior to mine and most of the board's arrival. However, it's very disappointing to hear. I guess what I'd first and foremost say that a lot of this is about context, because Azim is obviously he's got his own thoughts and feelings about the matter, and that's absolutely up to him. But the reality of the situation is that Yorkshire now is lauded by the ECB and others as being the most inclusive, and we're tackling discrimination and being welcoming than any other cricket club in the country. And the work that's gone on, not just in the community, but with pathways, with our members and memberships to make sure that the people with the most challenging backgrounds can actually get into cricket, to play and to watch cricket. As I say, our EDI policies are now kind of leading the way. So it'd be disingenuous and incorrect to suggest that that isn't where Yorkshire cricket is now, because that's a legacy that we want to leave to the new leadership group that are coming in. And hopefully a lot of your viewers will have seen Colin's full and frank and contrite full apology that he's issued today. And the ECB are very supportive of this. They're very supportive of ensuring that their governance is spot on and is 100% on top of all of the activity that we do. And in fact, without this funding coming in to Yorkshire cricket, to be quite frank, fantastic work around EDI in the last 2 years since those unfortunate allegations took place, wouldn't be able to carry on. So a lot of this is around context and understanding the facts behind the matter.
Stephen, I hear you there, but you say these allegations, I mean, they were substantiated, weren't they? Because 6 former Yorkshire players were sanctioned with fines and with bans. Colin Graves was at the helm at that time. You say you've moved forward, which is very commendable and it's great to hear, but then isn't this a step backwards?
Yeah, again, without repeating myself, I mean, I wasn't there when Colin was there. Yes, you're right, Vicky, the allegations was a poor choice of word. There were convictions and they've been very publicly stated. And that's obviously been one of the reasons, or part of the reasons, why the club has found itself in such a financial trauma, because the cost of retaining test matches and the cost of all those dismissals and allegations and legal fees and combined with a global economic meltdown and interest rate hikes, and et cetera, has been why it's been so difficult to refinance the club. So I understand people that might have a perception and say, well, things have gone backwards. I would counter that and say, without the ability to get the funds into Yorkshire cricket at the moment, effectively there's a chance that there is no Yorkshire cricket. So the ability to carry on the great work that we've done. And we haven't even spoken about cricket yet, but the things that we do in and around the community, the events that we do, and as I say, we've just opened a 10-lane cricket facility at Bradford Park Avenue, which is being used, and and all in conjunction with the ECB. There's so much work going on, and without this deal, and I want to be clear, none of this continues. So I appreciate the really difficult situation this may put a few people in, but I would suggest that all of the assurances that we're getting from Colin and the team coming in, the ECB in terms of a governance overview, should give us all the confidence that should the members ratify it, by the way, so no deal is done yet, but should the members ratify it, that this is the right thing for Yorkshire cricket, appreciating that there'll be polar opposite views.
How will you feel if they don't ratify it?
Yeah, well, if the members don't ratify it, then the financial situation at the club, which is dire, it's a legacy that we've inherited, remains. And there could be a number of options, and one of those options could be administration or insolvency, and that's the harsh reality of it.
I mean, details have been released today that say that Yorkshire spoke to 350 potential investors, and none of them were viable, except the Graves consortium offer. How surprised were you that none of those offers turned out to be suitable? And is that kind of the reason why you're in this situation in the first instance?
Yeah, I mean, Vicky, at the start of the process, which effectively began, I guess, a year ago, the situation, because of the financial state of the club, meant that the LTV, the loan to value of the club, was extremely high. So that kind of took out most of the institutional bank markets immediately. We had brokers in every continent, effectively. So we had brokers in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, India, Pakistan, the UK, America, all of the kind of areas that people are investing or are really into cricket. And either because of the LTV on the actual deal, or because of the sword of Damocles that was the CDC inquiry at the time, and nobody knew what the financial implications could be of that, or indeed the brand implications could be of that. The hike in interest rates around the world, post-COVID issues, plus, and this was a really big one, we had a lot of interest from the subcontinent, but once they realised that we were a members cooperative, i.e. we're a mutual organisation, they didn't want to get involved. They only wanted to buy it. They didn't want to loan and refinance. They wanted to buy it. So culturally, it didn't fit. So there were numerous, that's only half of the reasons. We did have interest. We had other offers come to the table, but none of them ever got to a point where they were executable until we've got to the situation with Colin. So that's the bare facts of it. We never, ever turned down the opportunity to speak to somebody. We worked with numerous people. And the truth of the situation is, because of all those reasons, we're left with the situation where we are now. However, the consortium that's coming in, it's real. The proof of funds, they've been working hard with the trusts and all of our other creditors that we're working with, and sponsors, etc., to ensure that everybody's got the confidence that Yorkshire cricket can continue as a going concern. So, we have to be, as a members cooperative, very, very appreciative that we have a consortium coming in to continue Yorkshire's journey, because it's a brilliant organisation. It hit, in over 150 years, it's had probably two really difficult years, but that shouldn't really, be the only thing that Yorkshire cricket's famous for. And I think, we've now got the opportunity to get the funds in to start hopefully talking about cricket again.
Absolutely, but the trouble is, it feels to, I guess, from the outside looking in, you are going backwards because you're going to get the man that was at the helm during that difficult period that you just described there back in. If he is the only option, you could be accused of a kind of a money over moral situation. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in this world, people will have opinions and perception becomes reality. I can tell you now, as a board of directors with our directors' duties, our fiduciary duties, and really our biggest responsibilities are to our members and to our creditors, i.e. we need to keep the club going for Yorkshire cricket, for English cricket as well. 1 in 5 people who play cricket in England play in Yorkshire. There are more recreational cricket clubs in Yorkshire than there are in Australia. It's, if Yorkshire catches a cold, England get ill at the same time. So it's an enormous responsibility. So I appreciate people potentially going down that road as a sound bite. But the truth of the matter is, for those that really care about Yorkshire cricket, and I appreciate people will say, well, are we going back to the future? It is quite clear, and we take independent advice on these things. This is not about personalities, that the consortia coming in, we've been given full confidence by them, the ECB with all of their checks and balances around governance going forward as well, that all of the good work around EDI and pathways and development and everything that we're doing will not just continue, but continue at an accelerated pace because of the funds that are desperately needed. We're the only county that allows children to come into the game without paying for their cricket kit, for example. That's really expensive. We need to continue that going on for the good of Yorkshire cricket and English cricket. So I do have genuine sympathy with people's thoughts around your comments. However, I think that if you look at it with both eyes open, the optics and, I guess the greater good of Yorkshire and English cricket, then I don't think it's a moral versus financial conversation. It's a conversation about how do we keep Yorkshire cricket in good health going forward? And this is the answer.
OK, just finally then, because it is being talked about, it has to be said, as a very controversial move, but it sounds like, you want it to go forward. Would you be concerned about what message it sends out to the public, in particular ethnic minorities?
Yeah, look, of course. I mean, we're acutely aware as a very new board of directors, and we had our eyes wide open coming in. I certainly did. I've been watching Sky Sports News over the years as just a viewer and looking at what's been going on, and it opened my eyes up. But I do think a lot of it's about context. I really do. As I said, there was a tough period of time. I don't think that should colour the whole of Yorkshire cricket. If anybody knows Yorkshire cricket now, as our sponsors and partners do, they know that nobody is doing more around EDI than we are. We've got an extremely diverse mix of staff. We've got an extremely diverse mix of a community in Yorkshire, especially parts of West and South Yorkshire. And we do a lot of work with these people. So we're acutely aware of it. We've spoken to our members today. We're speaking to our partners and sponsors every single day about these things and giving them the reassurances. And, we've also got the reassurances from Colin and the board that their board will also be a diverse, and very inclusive board. And, the ECB are obviously on top of that as well. So whilst I absolutely understand people's views, I think the proof will be in the pudding and people have to give it a chance and understand that this is actually, despite what other people may think, this is a good day for Yorkshire cricket, because without this offer coming through, there's potentially not going to be a Yorkshire cricket. And I just want to remind that the deal isn't done yet. It's an offer that has been recommended by the board to our members who have to ratify this. So if they should ratify it in 21 days' time, it then becomes real, and then we'll see the changes from there effectively. But I do think taking everything into context, understanding all of the very, very pointed views from either side on this, the club has been left with no choice, and we're fortunate to have the opportunity to keep this fantastic club going with all of the assurances that we need. And it's down to this board and the new board to make sure that we fulfil those promises. OK, Stephen, really good to get your thoughts. Maybe we'll speak again in 21 days' time. Thanks ever so much. Hopefully. Thanks, Vicky.